All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Beating the Bookie show. Today is Friday, December 29th. It is bowl week. We're hot and heavy in the middle of it. Probably three-quarters of the way through. We've got all the real interesting ones coming up.
Like 60% done about.
Sadly, man, yeah, bowl season's coming to an end, but we still got a lot of good games. We're going to run through some of those today. How's the bowl season been treating you so far?
Bowl season's been, it's been solid. We're 11-9 right now, and plays over 2 units are 3-1. So it's been solid. It's kind of tough to do a lot of the earlier games because a lot of guys opt out of like the more meaningless bowl games. So you have to find yourself, looking for, team's motivation, stuff like that. Surprisingly enough, you'd probably see that, whoever, if they're starting a third string quarterback, that means less than their motivation. So it's been interesting so far. We've had a couple, big highlights like that Western Kentucky plus 700 comeback.
That was unbelievable.
That was a great game. We had 3 units on Oklahoma State team total over, which cashed early in the third quarter. But we've had some great bowl games so far, and now we're starting to get into the prestigious bowls. So I'm just looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be awesome to say the least. I'm gonna be in attendance at the Peach Bowl tomorrow, so that's gonna be awesome. We've got some pretty great seats, so Team Beating the Bookie is gonna be front and center to hopefully watch the Ole Miss Rebels pick apart the Penn State Nittany Lions. But we'll see. I also got to preface: I'm not wearing the sunglasses to be a douchebag. I'm wearing them because I'm staring right into the sun. I'm actually out on the back patio right now. We're down in South Mississippi, where we usually don't have cell phone service or next to any kind of connection, but we got Starlink installed, so we're up and rolling, getting a show going. So you ready to dive into these games?
Yep, let's go.
Let's do it. All right, tonight, the Cotton Bowl, Ohio State 4.5-point favorites. It actually moved to 5 since we wrote the script. Versus Mizzou, total is set at 49.5. What you think?
Listen, it's all about, motivation for this game, right? Ohio State. If we just look at motivation, Ohio State, their goal is to make the playoffs every year. They did not this year. Their fans kind of took it out on their quarterback after the Michigan lost, and he transferred to Syracuse. And now they're playing in the Cotton Bowl against Missouri, a Missouri team that's stoked to be at the Cotton Bowl, right? They've been trying to get here for years, and they've got a solid team this year, a good offense, solid defense. And I think, Missouri really wants to be playing in this game. Ohio State, I'm not too sure. Ohio State has a lot of opt-outs, right? They lost their quarterback, as we said. They've had quite a few opt-outs. Marvin Harrison Jr., he did travel with the team, but honestly, I don't see him playing. He'd have to be foolish to play really in this game. Of course, we want to see him play, but we've seen so many guys get injured in their team's bowl game that was for not for a championship. That the smart thing to do is sit out. So I really seriously doubt he'll play. It's almost malpractice if he does, especially with a quarterback, Devin Brown, that hasn't played much this season for Ohio State. He wears like number 33, I believe.
33, yep.
It's kind of crazy. I think he was a 5-star quarterback recruit coming out of high school. But I watched him play this year a few times in late in games, and I just did not like how he threw the ball. I wasn't really a fan of it. And for me, this game is a Missouri or pass. Just tough to back Ohio State in this spot, especially with all the unknowns.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I think Missouri, they've got all the juice coming into this game. Drinkwitz has the team hyped up. They've got all kinds of motivation for it. And like you said, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Exactly what I was going to say. Ohio State, where's their motivation? It's probably non-existent if I had to guess. And I just really think Mizzou, man, they're, like you said, they're stoked to be here. And Drinkwitz got the boys riled up. They've got great receivers, great quarterback, running backs, defense, and they just reloaded in the transfer portal. So they're going to be a team to watch next year. But for today, I think Mizzou is Mizzou or pass, like you said.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Ohio State looks, right, with all these opt-outs, stuff like that. It's tough to go into a bowl game with a new quarterback, right? So Ohio State wanted, they wanted the other kid gone. He's gone now. Now they got Devin Brown. And, from the sounds of it, they don't want him as a quarterback for next season. They want somebody new coming in. So, we'll just have to see, what happens in this game. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Big Ten teams do against non-Big Ten teams, right? Like, let's see a Big Ten team against a fast team from the South, right? Or
Let's
from
see a Penn
Missouri.
State versus an Ole Miss. Ooh, like
Exactly, which is our
Ole Miss, Penn
which is our
State,
next
Ohio State,
game.
Missouri. Right, like those two matchups are probably some of the better bowl matchups outside the playoff.
Yep,
I'd say.
for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Let's move on to it. The Peach Bowl. Penn State 4.5-point favorites versus Ole Miss. 48.5 is the total. What you got to say about this game?
Listen, people know that I haven't been a big fan of Penn State all season. James Franklin, his record against teams in the top 15 is abysmal. He's
6-18.
And at Penn State, he's like 1-13 or something like that. Just abysmal. I think the line's a little disrespectful here to Ole Miss. Ole Miss, I don't think had a lot of opt-outs, stuff like that. I like Jackson Dart at quarterback, and I love the GOAT Lane Kiffin. I think in a bowl game, you're going to see Lane Kiffin throw in a lot of creativity, probably a few more trick plays than he usually runs. And, Penn State, I have not been impressed with Penn State all year. Their best win is probably Iowa, which has no offense. And the two best teams they faced, they got handily beaten by them in Michigan. And
Michigan didn't even throw the ball, man.
and Ohio State. Yeah, Michigan ran the ball basically 3 quarters straight, right? Drew Allaire, he is just not impressed me at all. A lot of people had him, one of the Heisman favorites early on, and he just fell off the map towards the end of the season. So I'm just interested to see like where Penn State's head is at this game, right? Because this is another game where Penn State, they came into this season with high expectations. This is James Franklin's best team in years, right? They're loaded, preseason top 10, and once again they lose to Penn State and Michigan, right? So Ole Miss, they're happy to be at the Peach Bowl. And that crowd's going to be a lot of Ole Miss fans in that crowd, in that stadium. So I expect it to be loud, almost like a home game for Ole Miss. So I'm looking forward to it. But I'm interested to see how these Big Ten SEC matchups go. Right. I think that'll be a kind of like a signaler about how the Michigan versus Alabama game will go. So let's see how these Big Ten teams. Let's see how these Big Ten teams do against some faster, bigger teams from the SEC, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. That's for sure.
For sure, man. Obviously, no surprise there's going to be an Ole Miss homer here, but without being, trying to sound too much like a homer, I think the Ole Miss offense, they're bringing every producer back. No one opted out. The guys that are leaving, the one guy that's leaving to go to the NFL and not returning next year is playing in the bowl game. So they've got all the receivers, the linemen are there, quarterback, running back. On defense, we've got one guy that edge rusher. He's opted out. He won't be playing in the game. He's like a 7th round projection. I don't really know why, what the point of the opt out is there, but get your back however you want to get it. With this game though, both teams are kind of in the same boat with opt outs. Penn State, one of their better players, Chop Robinson. I'm not sure. He has announced that he's going to the NFL draft, but he hasn't announced if he's playing in the bowl game yet. He would be a big loss for Penn State if he was to not play in this game. But both teams are sitting in the same position, both 10-2, playing in a big bowl game, and we'll see what both of them put on a show for us. But I really would love to see Ole Miss, get the offense going. Their team total set at 21.5. I think that's significantly lower than it should be. All of their receiver props are low. I mean, their quarterback passing props are low. If you look at their other games that they played this season. So I don't know. There's a lot of good spots in this game if you want to find them.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at like I said, I'm interested to see how that speed of Ole Miss does against Penn State, because look, Ole Miss only had 2 losses this year, right? Alabama and Georgia, right? They had the 2 best losses in the country, and I think Alabama only scored 17 points on them, right? So, in non-traditional style, this Ole Miss defense has been pretty good this year. So I'm interested to see how they look against Drew Allaire and Penn State.
And it's not like Penn State's, it's not like their defense is any sort of slouch. So I think it's going to be a great game. Very excited to
Yep.
watch it. Moving on, the Orange Bowl. Man, this one's ridden with controversy. Georgia, 20-point favorites versus Florida State Seminoles. Total is set at 44.5. I mean, what are your thoughts here?
To be honest, this will probably be one of the first times I don't even watch the Orange Bowl. We've seen this game go from 13.5 to 20. Florida State's got over 20 opt-outs. Rodemaker, their backup quarterback who couldn't play in the ACC game, now he's transferring. He's entered the portal.
Yeah, Brock Glenn, Covington, Tennessee, get a start.
So their third string quarterback, is he the one that played in the ACC game?
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah, not very good. Can't really pass the ball, which is an issue, right? You can't pass the ball. Their best two running backs, Toffoli and the other guy. Those two guys carried them in the ACC championship, right? They just ran the ball on Louisville to finish 13-0. Those guys are not playing in the bowl game, right? They've opted out. One hit the portal. So I just don't see where Keon Coleman, he's going on.
The best player on the team.
He's gone. So I don't know how FSU's going to score points, right? They're going to have to throw out a lot of trick plays. I don't see how FSU's going to score, right? And Georgia's going to be down a lot of guys too, but they're going to have their quarterback, right? They're going to have their O-line, and they're going to have Kirby Smart, and that's a massive advantage over Mike Norvell to me. So I don't like the 20 points. I mean, that's huge, right? That's like a 13-0 team is a 20-point underdog, but FSU's got nobody playing in this game. And I think, the only people that would be watching this game are Georgia or Florida State fans. I just, these tickets are very cheap right now to go to this game. For me, it's probably one of the worst bowl games. I'll actually be going on a cruise for a week. So I just don't see how FSU scores points. Everybody left. They have no offense left. They couldn't score points against Louisville, a Louisville defense that just got shredded by a freshman quarterback at USC, right, in their bowl game. If they couldn't score points, with the third string quarterback, then with all their offensive pieces at the time, besides Jordan Travis, I just don't see how they're going to score points against this Georgia defense. So I think we're going to see a low scoring game. And it could get ugly, right? It could get ugly. So
we could see the total hit 45 points for Georgia, in my opinion.
Yeah. So Georgia, I mean, I would, if I had to make a play here, I'd play Georgia, just because you just look around, like where are Florida State's points going to come from? They have zero production coming into this bowl game from these players that are going to be playing. So it's going to be tough for FSU to score points, and I just don't see how they're going to score points in this game, right? You got to have players to score points, and all their players are gone. So I don't know where they're going to get points from. And this game's probably it's Georgia or nothing for me, but I think we'll see a low scoring game, and we could see a 28-0, right? I just don't see, I don't see Florida State scoring over 10 points, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I don't even want to give any commentary on this game because, I mean, literally everything you just said is what I think is going to happen too. I mean, there's no way that Florida State wins this game. I don't even think there's any way they keep it really close. So, like you said, Georgia or nothing. Brock Glenn, Florida State quarterback, best of luck, buddy. It's going to be a tough one out there, I do believe, for you. Moving on, CFP semifinal at the Rose Bowl, Michigan. 2-point favorites versus Alabama, 44.5 at the total. I mean, this one's going to be a great game, man. Both these semifinal games are going to be so good, so fun to watch. What are your thoughts on the first one?
I mean, we hope so. We hope they're going to be fun to watch because, Michigan's gotten really pretty much blown out their last two appearances in the semifinals, right? So you just hope Michigan shows up, right? Because I know there's one thing about Alabama that I do know is that Nick Saban teams show up, right? They're not going to come out there and fall flat. They show up when they're playing in the playoffs, they show up. So I'm looking forward to see like the previous Big Ten versus SEC matchups, right? We're looking at Alabama, strength and speed versus Michigan strength. For me, what sets this game apart is the quarterback play. I think Alabama has much better receivers and much better
Ooh, yeah.
quarterback than Michigan, right? J.J. McCarthy, if you look at his stats, he hasn't done anything the last half of the season. He's got a couple games where he hasn't even broken 100 yards passing. Um, he does not look like he has a strong arm. And usually it's like, all right, well, maybe the guy can take off and run, right? But he's not a very fast runner, right? So he's more of a possession quarterback, like a Trent Dilfer, right? That's how he plays.
Mm.
But the problem with that is, if you look at the games Michigan struggled in, which is their last 4 games, right? They've struggled to score points. Those are the best 4 teams they've faced all year, right? Penn State, Ohio State, Iowa. They struggle to score points in these games. Um, the only reason they won these is because the other team's offense was even worse, right? Well, now they're playing a pretty good offense, an offense who has gotten better by the game, right? Um,
Every
Another
game.
thing, and Michigan won't have any film. Like Michigan won't have any film on Alabama's new play calls and stuff. So the signal stealing controversy early this year, they can't depend on that. And I just, Saban versus Harbaugh, Milroe versus McCarthy, I got to give the advantage to Alabama because Alabama's been here before. They've won before. They've proven. Michigan's been in the driver's seat all season, right? When Michigan was number one in the country, Alabama was written off, right? 50-1 to win the championship this year. So Alabama's been written off, and like they're talking about like make all these naysayers. Like Alabama has this thing like whatever it is, something like let all naysayers know or whatever. So
They got something to prove.
they're really taking this underdog role seriously, and I think we're in for a very good game. But at the end of the day, I just think Saban, Milroe is better than McCarthy and Harbaugh, right? So, the way you beat Alabama is like with a Trevor Lawrence quarterback, a dynamic offense. With a Stetson Bennett with monster running backs and great receivers and a Brock Bowers, right? Michigan doesn't have that, so
You
Michigan's
don't
not
beat
just
them.
going to
You don't beat them with a Blake Corum and a JJ McCarthy.
exactly. They're not going to. And you look at Blake Corum's stats. I mean, he had a lot of touchdowns this year, but like 12 of them came from within like 2 yards. So they're not just going to line up and run straight at Alabama. Like Georgia tried that in the SEC championship game, and it didn't work out. So Alabama, they've always got some big boys up front, and yeah, I mean Michigan's offensive line is big also, but I just think we've seen it time and time again. The Big Ten in these games, they just can't compete with the physicality of these SEC teams. So I would definitely lean towards Alabama in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of a scarier sight in college football than an underdog Alabama team that is getting disrespected all year and has pretty much had to play from behind all year. And for the media wise, at least now they made it controversially, but they made it, and I think they're in a perfect spot to prove that they're the team
Yeah,
to beat, and they're going
and
to do it. I mean, in my opinion,
and look, Michigan hasn't really been punched in the face this year, right?
get ready.
Michigan hasn't faced adversity, right? They haven't had to. Michigan hasn't had to come back late comeback to win a game, right? They haven't had to have a 4th and goal from the 31-yard line to score a touchdown, right? To win a game, right? They haven't had to make a clutch stop. I mean, they had to make a clutch stop against Ohio State to win, but outside of that, like they haven't really faced any adversity this season on the field, right? They have the Connor Stallion stuff, all that's off the field, but on the field, they've just been rolling, like playing these
It's been
inferior
easy.
teams, and it really has, right? And to me, they've only played Ohio State this year, right? And who's to say Ohio State is good, right? Ohio State and Michigan started this season ranked in the top 5. So they haven't had to come up from anywhere. They were put there, right? And we've seen this happen for the last 20 years. These teams are just put in these spots, and like I said, Michigan they haven't really impressed me. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, I'm not betting against Nick Saban, that's for sure, because he's the greatest football coach of all time, and I am not betting against him, especially in a national semifinal.
Yeah, dude, absolutely no chance. I mean, and 2-point underdogs. Love that. Love that. let's move on to the final game before the championship. We got the semifinal at the Sugar Bowl. Texas 4-point favorites versus Washington. Total is set at 63.5. That's way up there. Don't really have as many thoughts about this game. I know I'm obviously going to watch it, and I obviously think it's going to be a prolific offensive performance. But what are your thoughts?
My initial reaction is to like the over in this game, but I mean, I think Washington getting 4 points that's a slap in the face for them. They have a lot of good wins this season, right? They beat Oregon twice. Who Oregon was favored, I believe, over Michigan in the look ahead playoff lines. So
They were.
Washington's just been doing their job week after week. Michael Penix, it's all about the quarterback, right? So like when I talk about JJ McCarthy, you see like the difference a quarterback makes in these games, right? You have like Michael Penix, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. As long as you have a quarterback, you have a chance to win a game, right? Like an elite level quarterback. And that's what Michael Penix is. He's an elite level quarterback. He's experienced. I mean, he's been through the ringer dozens of times. He's made game-winning throws. He's led comeback drives this year, right? He's been tested this year, and he came out on top every single time. Texas, they've looked great, right? They looked great in the Big 12 championship. Quinn Ewers looks great. They did lose their starting running back earlier this year, who did well against Alabama.
He's a big piece.
And I believe they lost their best receiver. If I'm not mistaken, they lost their best receiver in the Big 12 championship. I'm not sure if he's playing or not, but I think the 4 is just disrespectful to Washington. But this is a tough game. I mean, I could see Texas winning by 10 plus. I could see Washington squeaking out a win, right? So for me, the safer play will probably be the total right here. But I think it's going to be a good game, and we could see an Alabama-Texas rematch for the national championship, which would be wild. Awesome. So I think that's probably what everyone's hoping for.
I think so too.
We'll see what happens, but I would lean the over in this one. But it's going to be a battle, and Texas, Washington. You got Sarkisian. He coached at Washington also, so it's just going to be a battle, and I think that's a very good matchup. I think that's going to be the better game of the two. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to getting going with some of these New Year's Day bowl games, stuff like that, because it's going to be a fun time.
It's going to be very fun to watch. The whole bowl season so far has been great, and we still got a lot of greatness left to consume. The Sugar Bowl, though, I mean, Texas, their backup quarterback transferred out to Duke, Malik Murphy, so they're playing with Arch as the backup. A lot of things could go crazy in this game to make it one of the best college football games of all time. So
yeah, I mean, listen, Texas, they've already paid their dues with their starting quarterback getting injured in the championship game, right? When Colt McCoy got injured back against Alabama in 2006 or whatever it was. So look, hopefully, Malik Murphy, he did transfer to Duke. Shout out to Manny Diaz, who got Malik Murphy to come to Duke, but Manny Diaz also hired Texas State's defensive coordinator, which was pretty questionable, as the guy gave up 77 points to Butch Jones this year. But that's for another day. That's for next season's college football preview. And look, you never want to see Arch Manning in this game, right?
No,
you never want to see it. So hopefully we get Penix versus Ewers, which is probably
elite matchup, probably one of the best elite matchups of the year.
It's probably one of the best quarterback. It might be the best quarterback matchup we've seen all year. Outside of Bo Nix versus Penix, but it's gonna be a great matchup, and I'm just looking forward to it. I think we'll see a lot of fireworks. There's lots of speed. Washington has the best receivers in the country. So can those Texas DBs cover that speed? Can they get pressure on Michael Penix? I know Washington defense will come to play. So can Texas protect Ewers in the pocket? It's going to be interesting, and that's why they play the game. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great bowl season.
I agree, man. Plenty of storylines to keep up with, plenty of fun games, plenty of speed in those games for the next couple of days to, try to keep up with, man. I'm excited for it. That's all I got. You got anything else?
Nope. You want to drop a prediction in these playoff semifinals and who you got winning the championship?
Yeah, man, I got Alabama, Texas in a rematch, and I got Alabama winning it all.
Man, me too. I got Alabama, Texas also with Alabama winning it all. But I
Let's
think
go,
yeah,
dude.
I think Alabama, Texas will be a really good game, and it's essentially a coin flip. It's just the better team that shows up that day, right? They're very similar. I mean,
Oh,
they're
across the
both
board, very
very
similar teams.
similar coached. I mean, you got one guy who coached for another guy for years, so they're going to know each other very well, and I think we'd see a great game. I think Texas versus Alabama would be probably one of the best national championship games we've seen in quite a long time.
The ratings would be through the roof, and I need it to happen.
So that's it. That's it for me. But
All right.
looking forward to finishing bowl season, and we're getting cranked. The NFL playoffs are coming up soon,
Little
so
sweeper on the
looking
NFL
forward to it.
yesterday for you.
Nice 3-0 Thursday night sweep. So
Yep.
looking forward to week 17 of the NFL.
Well, I appreciate everybody listening. I hope everybody enjoys all the bowl games. Have a happy new year. Hope the Christmas was great, and we'll see you all next time.